Last week, advocates told us the fight would continue to restore grizzly bears to Washington's North Cascades. That's after the federal government abruptly halted the program. Now, a new lawsuit seeks to figure out why. The Center for Biological Diversity sued today, saying the federal government failed to release public records on the termination of the program. They say they filed a Freedom of Information Act back in 2017, but haven't gotten records from the Department of Interior. There are certainly differences of opinion on restoring grizzly bears to these mountains. Supporters say they play an important role in the ecosystem. They were native here before they were virtually wiped out by people. But the Washington Cattlemen's Association and some lawmakers opposed the idea and celebrated the cancellation, worried about the prospect of an attack on either people or cattle from these predators. There are believed to only be a handful of grizzlies in the North Cascades now, if any at all. There are some, though, in eastern Washington. In the North Cascades, I'm Michael Crow, King 5 News.